Carl is continuing with, he has an organization, Reform California. They have a website, reformcalifornia.org. So he isn't not giving up the fight in California. He's also a great speaker, and we've invited him. He's very kindly accepted. So Carl, you're on.
Great. It's great to be out here. I'm sorry I wasn't here last month, but how did my friend Roxanne do? She joined us. Yes, isn't she a dynamo? I want to see her run for office in LA. We've got to get behind candidates that have energy and they're not from the establishment and are willing to really put in the hard work. And she's a rising star. I'm here tonight with a message of hope. I know some of us could use a little hope, right? After that November election where you saw in California the blue wave, half of our Republican congressional seats were wiped out. We didn't have a lot to begin with. We only had 14 out of 53, and we fell down to 7. Orange County, once a conservative bastion, no Republicans representing Orange County. No voice. And of course we lost 9 state legislative seats, the state assembly and the state senate. What was really annoying about that was, you know how hard we worked to end the supermajority by recalling Senator Josh Newman from office? It was just so frustrating to watch those results. But I don't want you to be deterred, and I want you to stay focused. And I think there is a reason for hope, and here's why. Not only are the Democrats saddled with their bad ideas that eventually are going to be like a house of cards that collapse. High taxes, high mandates, regulations, failing schools, failing infrastructure. Those things are going to catch up. Matter of time. But I also have hope because we have yet to actually compete. I was talking to a couple folks in the media, and they love it. They love writing the obituary of conservatives in California. They've had a lot of practice on Donald Trump. How'd that work out? How'd that work out? And what they say is, demographics are destiny. California is a deep blue state. The permanent supermajority is at hand. Republicans are an endangered species and they'll be irrelevant. And my response to that is, I'm not going to accept that as a conclusion until I know that Republicans have put forth their best effort in an election cycle. And they haven't. When we field our best effort, even by a modest standard, and then we lose a couple cycles, then maybe it's time to give up hope. Now, here's the opposite part of that coin. Some people say, I've already given up hope. It's going to be too hard to fight in California, so I'm going to flee. The whole debate is fight or flee, fight or flee. And of course, how many of you have had friends that have given up hope and they've left the state of California, family members? How many of you are actually thinking about it yourself? I know. So, I guess you're a liberal because you think that there's a safe space out there for you, right? Snowflakes. That's what I think you are. No, really. Let me explain not why you shouldn't flee because that's cowardly. You have a right to flee. But actually, it's not an option because there is no safe space left in America. Think about it this way. The top 3 states I hear from people when they say, I'm leaving California, in this order: Texas, Arizona, Nevada. Right? Am I right? Those are the 3 biggies. Nevada, they just picked up a Senate seat. They now have 2 Democrat senators and an entire delegation of Democrats in the House. And their governor just went Democrat. They're now a blue state. Arizona, they also just lost a U.S. Senate seat and 2 House seats. Doesn't look too blue to me. Texas, you want to know how much of a change there's been in Texas? Beto O'Rourke almost won a Senate seat in Texas. I mean, come on. That's like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez winning a spelling bee. I mean, it's not happening, right? It's not happening. My point is, there is no safe space because California is so bad that we are exporting liberals more than we are exporting conservatives. I had a Nevada University professor on my show a few weeks ago, and he did the research, and he had all the voter registration migration data, and he said Nevada and Arizona and Texas lost House seats for Republicans and 2 Senate seats because of net migration of liberal voters from California. Now, what's fascinating about this is that, yes, we have conservatives leaving, but more young liberal voters are leaving the state. Why? Why are they leaving? PPIC did a poll, and in that poll, it shows 57% of Californians are thinking about leaving the state because they can't afford to live here. Cost of living. But when you take a look at millennials and people who are under the age of 35, 67% of them say they want to leave California because they can't afford to live here. And who are they voting for? The extreme socialist Democrats from Sacramento. That's like the pig giving the butcher the knife, okay? Here you go, have a supermajority, I'm voting for Democrats, and they're being run out of their state. Why? Why would someone knowingly vote against their own interest? Because they're not aware that that's what they're doing. Nobody has told them that that is what they're doing. Nobody has told them that when you vote for that Democrat state senator, when you hand them a supermajority, they are going to use their supermajority to raise taxes without a public vote. They are going to do a tax. They're going to do a drinking water tax on your water bill. They're going to hike the gas tax again, and then they're going to steal it. They're going to do a healthcare tax, a property tax, a service tax. Tax. It will never end. There will never be a satisfied Democrat politician when it comes to their thirst for your money. But these young voters don't know. Oh, and then they say, well, I'm voting for the party that stands for freedom. I'm voting for the Democrats. Oh, my God. But think about it. The younger voters that are voting for these politicians, that are voting then 100% in opposition to these young people's opportunities, economic opportunities, jobs, cost of living, freedom, schools, infrastructure, safety, all those issues. Is there anyone telling them the other story, the other side? They're not learning it in the schools, for God's sakes. That's controlled by the liberals. The media, really, seriously. And of course, one-party dominance means that there are business groups and political organizations that only are focused on helping Democrats because they're in power. Into this mix, we have what is left of the California Republican Party. The carcass being picked apart. And that's been a problem that we've had for many years. There are 3 things, though, that I think we need to address with the California Republican Party if we're going to fix things. Yes, we need to criticize Democrats, but first we must start in our own backyard. We have to clean up the mess that's in the California Republican Party. It's a mess. Number 1, the first mess is we are no longer a political party with ideas in California. The Republicans are not. I mean, think about it. What was the last big, bold idea that Republicans in California proposed and got done that positively impacted families in our state? Prop 13. Prop 13 is the correct answer in my estimation. It was 40 years ago, 1978. To put that in perspective and highlight it and underscore it, 1978, Cher still had her original nose. That's how far back it is. Like, we're talking like way, way, way back. Okay, give me the last big, bold, scary idea that Democrats proposed and got done in the state of California. Sanctuary state, gas tax increase, car tax increase. What? Banning the straws, banning plastic bags, but then saying, oh no, but you can buy another bag for 10 cents and it's bigger. Okay, so all of these things they've done in the past 5 years. That's 2014. Like, Cher was on nose number 9 by that point, okay? That's how recent we're talking about. We cannot be a political party unless we are offering bold, bright, positive solutions at every turn. And by the way, to our friends in the liberal media and people like Chad Mays, no, I don't want my ideas coming from the Democrat Party and just add a little water. I don't want watered down socialism. I want freedom, opportunity, prosperity, and security. I don't want their ideas. Arnold Schwarzenegger, shut the hell up about what you think needs to happen, because guess what, buddy? You presided over the beginning of the death spiral, or at least the worsening of it. I believe we've got good ideas in California. I believe freedom works. I believe hard work and opportunity and economic prosperity is the way. It's the great equalizer. Our nation does not give you an equality of outcome. We give you an equality of opportunity. If you're willing to work hard and you have a good idea, you should be able to be anything, no matter your race, your religion, your starting point, your gender. All of those things are what we call the American dream. And at one point in California, we had it right. People called California the Golden State, not just because of our beautiful beaches and bays, but because you could almost make money overnight. It was so good out here in the economy. That California is not a figment of your imagination. And just to put a fine point on that in terms of our ideas and how much better our ideas are when we go back to our founding roots, our core beliefs. You used to travel the country and the world, and maybe 25 years ago, this stopped happening to you, maybe 20 years. But think back beyond that. When you would travel around the country or around the world, and people would say, where are you from? What did you do? California. Remember that? And they would go, ooh. It's not your imagination. It actually used to happen. Now when you're asked, where are you from? What happens? California. What? Did they just like make it a felony to have a straw? On an aside, when the Mueller report came out, I tweeted, oh, liberals are so upset right now. They're trying to grasp at straws, but here in California, they have none to grasp at. Oh, they didn't like that. It's like triggering. So the first issue we have to address is that we need to be the party of ideas. And we don't need to be shy about it. We have to be passionate about it. We have to be proud about it. We have to go out there and have elected officials and candidates and activists who are able to explain the benefits of freedom, a prosperity agenda, an opportunity society, that notion of security, that criminals should not be given more rights and more benefits and welfare than those that follow the law. I mean, these are just basic things. That the Second Amendment is not just a right to buy a gun. The Second Amendment fundamentally is a human right of self-defense. And that when there is an evildoer that comes into a crowd, an evildoer that goes to a school or a church or a mosque and says, oh, this is a soft target, nobody will defend themselves because they banned self-defense in these areas. We need to be able to say, I hope a hero is there who has courage and has the tool to defend innocent lives. I hope that we have a hero that can step forward, and we all should be encouraging the right of self-defense. Or First Amendment. And I love talking to college campuses because I say, do you know what the First Amendment is? Yeah, it's freedom of the press. I say, no, the First Amendment is freedom of thought. Do you think you should have freedom of thought? Do you think that when your creator, or whatever you believe in, decided you would be in existence, that you were given free will, and with free will is a concept, a notion that you have freedom of thought? Well, how do we express thought? Well, we speak it, which is why we have freedom of speech. We assemble to share our speech. Meetings like this. In some countries, if we did this, we'd be arrested. In some countries, they would have a snitch taking pictures to find out who we are so they can go and monitor us. Freedom of assembly. Freedom of religion. Not all speech is political or economic. Speech can be worship. Oh, and of course, not freedom of journalism. Journalism is a, quote, profession. Doesn't exist anymore, but it's a profession. Freedom of press is that I have the right to publicize my ideas. The press refers to what we used to press onto parchment and paper to then distribute around. And so freedom of thought. I mean, have you ever heard a Republican talk about freedom of thought or the freedom of self-defense? Have they ever done that? I think we're going to win a whole lot of voters if we talk about what our philosophy really is in terms that people can understand. That's why the gas tax was so wonderful. The gas tax was wonderful because our idea was better. You shouldn't have to pay more at the pump. Oh, and by the way, you're already paying enough. How about we just tell them to put the money that we already gave them and put that in the damn roads? People are like, wow, that's awesome. I like that idea. Wow, yeah, I know. Too bad we didn't have more Republican members of Congress talking about that, or members of the Assembly and the Senate. But what we said then is, we have a better idea, a lockbox, we're going to fix the roads that way. Oh, and it costs the typical family of four, what figure did I use? $779.23 a year for a typical family of four. You know, that's like Christmas. The average family spends about that on Christmas each year. Again, what we're trying to do is communicate in ways that are simple and emotionally resonant, which is the second issue we're missing as a party. We're missing an agenda that we're proud of and philosophy that we're willing to go out and explain in simple terms. But we're missing good communication, emotional communication. This is what Trump does a great job of. He's an emotional communicator. Oh, and the media hates him for it. Oh, it's like whirling dervishes whenever he tweets. But what he has done very effectively is he is able to communicate in simple, emotional terminology. He breaks it down real simply in ways that people who don't study politics can figure out, yeah, he makes a point. That's a good point. He's making a good point there. And third, it's not enough to have a good agenda. It's not enough to have good communications. What do we have to do with that? We got to take the fight into the streets. We actually have to pick a fight sometimes. Democrats are great at this. They control everything in California, right? But what are they doing? They're coming into red districts and they're picking fights. They're saying, oh, we're going to go flip this district. We're going to flip that district. You go out to the fair. You go to any sort of big event in front of the stores, and what are they doing? They're tabling. They're collecting signatures on petitions that aren't real. They're out there saying, we're here to save the whales. We're here to end climate change. Tom Steyer does the best of this. He does this ad. The billionaire Tom Steyer, he's got an ad out saying, sign my petition online to impeach President Trump. How many saw that ad? It's been running for about 2 years. Do you know what he's doing? There's no petition that impeaches a president online. He's harvesting his army. He's identifying who agrees with him. And so they're taking their battle into the streets, and they're organizing, they're canvassing, and then what do? Once they figure out that this independent voter is actually a closet Democrat, they go back, and on election day, they harvest their ballot. They have a database and they share their data. They have sophisticated data analytics. In other words, they're taking the battle into the streets, but they're also optimized for how they fight their battles. When we did the gas tax repeal, I contacted the Republican Party. I said, hey, we're going to do this gas tax repeal. They're like, oh, no, that's never going to work. You don't have $10 million. The governor's already bought off all the business groups and threatened them. You're not going to get any money. I said, well, I think we can do it with the grassroots volunteers. Oh, that's funny. I'm like, no, I actually think we can do it with grassroots volunteers. Just you watch. And we did. We did. 29,000 donors. No one gave more than $1,000. But we raised, with 29,000 donors, average contribution $37, $4.6 million in the 2018 cycle. Oh, and by the way, signatures, we got 20,000 volunteers to collect nearly 1 million signatures all throughout the state. And it's like, wait a minute, so you're telling me the grassroots can't do things? The grassroots are chomping at the bit to take back their state. Why don't you empower them with the plan and give them the marching orders? If we just knew what the plan was and simple things, and we all had our small assignment, we do as much or as little as we can be a powerful force in this state, and no, we're not a supermajority party. There are thousands of Californians in every county just like you and me. But they think that they're the only one. They have given up hope, and they have a sense that I don't know even where to begin. And they're also very quiet. They don't share their political views. They're afraid of being marginalized. But every once in a while, they come across someone just like them. Hey, is that a MAGA hat in your purse? Oh, yeah. Isn't he doing a good job? I mean, literally, like, we are so afraid to express. I thought the liberals liked tolerance and diversity and expression, right? Right? Oh, yeah. And so, in California, we have to get this third thing right, which is we have to have the agenda, we have to have the communications, but we have to have the fight. And the fight requires a battle plan. And the battle plan then gets tiered down to all of our volunteer groups. All of our elected officials need to be part of the fight. When Democrats do something, they're ever seen Star Trek? They're like the Borg. They're all like, automatons. They all just march in step, all their elected officials, and they demand uniformity. They say, you must raise this money, you must show up for this event. When we recalled Josh Newman, I saw almost every single elected official on the Democrat side all around the state of California showing up and trying to save his sorry rear end. How many Republicans did we have? On one hand. Why? Well, what does it do for me? Oh, buddy, you don't think you're next on the chopping block? Even if you're not in it because you believe in it, you should be in it because it's self-preservation. Because after they're done picking off Darrell Issa, Mimi Walters, Dana Rohrabacher, Ed Royce, you know who they're coming for next? Ken Calvert, Duncan Hunter. They're never going to stop. You're next on the plate. You're on the menu if you don't help a fellow Republican flip a seat. There's none of that spirit on the Republican side amongst elected officials. Why? Why do we let these people get a pass? Why do we let them come to our groups, our RWF groups, our Tea Party groups, and say, well, this is what I'm doing. Okay, I get the fact that you're hitting the right button in Sacramento. How much money have you raised and which candidates have you given it to? How many volunteers have you been recruiting and what have you done with them? Oh, nothing? Oh, so you're a potted plant. I gotcha. Turn you towards the light, give you a little water, a little bit of nutrients in there. No, I'm sorry. You're occupying one of the very precious and few Republican seats in California. Get your butt into the fight and tell us what you're doing. We're volunteers, we're grassroots. You should be leading, you should be raising money. We have let our Republican elected officials, the good ones, yes, the ones that hit the right button, we've let them off too easy. And so if we get these three things right, ideas, communications, and the fight, the battle plan, and then actually get in the trenches, I actually think California is winnable. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. I'm not Pollyannish about this. But I'd like to pick up a couple seats next cycle. How about we say we're going to pick up 5 state legislative seats, so we're going to win back a little more than half of what we lost last time. And we're going to pick up, out of the 7 congressional seats we lost, I want to pick up 3. Now, is that too aggressive? I think that's the least we should be able to do. And then in 2022, what happens? We get a new district map, new redistricting map. And so our hope is that we get better boundaries, better and fairer districts. But by that point, we should actually have a motor running that's warmed up and ready to go. Again, until we do our fundamentals here, you can't convince me that hope is lost. Now, where do we go from here? One of the things that we're doing at Reform California is we've begun a permanent campaign. Reform California started several years ago, modeled after what the Democrats created in Colorado to move Colorado from red to blue. And they have these groups like Reform California all around the country. Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, Texas. You all sense a pattern here? The Democrats come in with a super PAC, and that's what Reform California is, that then develops an issue agenda, that then goes out and creates the messaging around an issue and creates the wedge issue. Basically says, this is the wedge issue we're going to run on. What do the Democrats do? Their 3 issues are climate change, universal health care, and they got a 3rd one now, Los Dreamers, open borders, racism. And they go out door to door and they knock on doors. Hi, I'm here with Save the Planet. We're going to die in 12 years because of climate change. Fossil fuels are terrible. Do you agree or disagree? I agree. Great, sign here. Knock on the next door. Climate change. No, that's absurd. I mean, seriously. Al Gore said we were going to die in 1989 and it hasn't happened. Oh, okay, thank you. Hey, that one did not work on the environment thing. Okay, well, who else can we get? Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm here with equality for all. Donald Trump hates brown people. What do you think? Oh, I know, that's terrible. Let me sign up. So if you don't get them on the environment, you're going to get them on immigration. If you don't get them on immigration and the environment, you're going to get them on health care. They have a 3-pronged approach. And if you're not going to get them on one of those 3, they're probably one of those dirty MAGA supporting deplorable Republicans. That's how they're winning. And they're creating this uproar. And then what they do is they go to college campuses and they're hiring kids. We don't go to college campuses. So the first thing is we have an organization and several others that we've set up that are going to take their playbook and go and develop issues like the gas tax, like the water tax, like sanctuary state, like saving Prop 13. We have this whole set of issues that we will win on, and we create the narrative and the agenda to try to address those issues. But we need to do more. We are losing an entire generation, so we are starting college outreach. We don't have college Republican chapters anymore. Students for Liberty, Turning Point USA. If you are conservative and you're a college student, you are a true believer. Because first, you were able to make it through the high school system in California. That's indoctrination. And second, nobody has supported you. You have been marginalized, you have been called names, and in some cases, you've been physically assaulted. And if you are still a conservative, you really have conviction. So we've lost an entire generation. We need to be back on the college campuses, and it's simple. We go out there and we say, we're here with jobs. We want to pay you $15 an hour, and you know what your job is? You're going to sit in the hot sun collecting signatures for our initiatives. Oh, and by the way, you're walking door to door. Some of you are going to wear t-shirts that talk about safety. Others are going to wear green t-shirts talking about a better way to save the environment. But we're going to have you going door to door because we need to flip these seats. And the way we flip the seats is we have to go to independents and find out, are you a closet Republican or a closet Democrat? And we feed that into the database so that our candidates know, oh, this person probably is one of ours. Oh, and by the way, we can go back and harvest a ballot come election day. So we got to get back on the college campuses, and by that approach, not only are we getting a workforce, but what we also want to do is tell those college kids, now that you're working for us, your job is to flyer on your campus. Your job is to go into classrooms and put the flyers on the board talking about freedom of thought, freedom of speech, under attack. Democrats want to tax our cell phones. Democrats want to tax text messages. Get out there and start showing that, yeah, the other side is not all warm and fuzzy. So we're organizing college campuses. We've got an Audit the Vote program underway. This is in partnership with the Judicial Watch and Pacific Legal Foundation. And the goal there is to get a couple counties controlled by Republicans to audit the vote using 3 criteria. Are individuals eligible to vote? Did individuals receive a duplicate ballot? Because Voter has created that. And are individuals returning absentee ballots that are being rejected because, or showing up to the polls and asking for provisionals because someone has already cast an absentee ballot in their name? Audit the Vote is designed just to get us enough evidence that we can go into federal court to demand a statewide audit and cleansing of the voter rolls. The voter rolls in California are one of the biggest scams that Democrats have been able to carry out over the years. And the only way they are going to be cleansed is by the force of a court order. There's no other way to do it. To do that, we need the evidence, and that's why we have an Audit the Vote program. We have a unionduesrebate.org website that we launched in January. This is where we're asking state and local government employees, and you probably know a lot of state and local government employees, to opt out of their union membership. The Janus decision of the Supreme Court gives everyone the constitutional right not to have to pay mandatory government union dues. Where is that money going that they're taking out of paychecks? It's worth $800 or $1,200 per employee per year, and it's going right into their political fund. They don't get any health care benefits off of this. They don't get any life insurance. They don't get any pensions off of this. That's all provided by their government agency employer. No, 100% of that money goes to the union boss to buy Democrats' seats, and then turn around and say, oh, by the way, in exchange for us putting you into office, you're going to raise taxes, raise salaries, raise pensions, and give the money back to us. It's a scam, but the only way we stop it is by slowly taking that money back from those unions. We were able to get 225 people in the first 6 weeks of this campaign opted out in San Diego. That has drained, that alone for this cycle has drained about $250,000 of campaign cash from the Democrats in San Diego alone. Can you imagine if we got 200 government employees out of the union in every county? Or in LA, we get 500 out because it's a bigger county. It would absolutely handicap the Democrats when it comes time for elections because they won't have unlimited money at that point. They'll be worried. The union up in Oregon, because they have a Janus program going there, they lost so much money they had to mortgage their union building. That's less money going to Democrats, I'll tell you that right now. And so these projects are all on our website, reformcalifornia.org. Plus, there's a handout at your table. I think I gave enough for each table. It's this one. It says, Reform California's plan to take back California. Some of these projects are listed there. To connect with us, if you're not already on my email list, just go to reformcalifornia.org and sign up there, or text reform to 94253. Text reform to 94253. With that, let me entertain questions.
Anyone has a question, come on.
All right, right there, ma'am. Right over there, back table. Go ahead and yell it.
I have a question. How can you incentivize people once it's been put out there if you're willing to work? I would think that once you put that out there, that those people are not going to have the incentive to want to work. So what is your thought about approaching them? How do we
Can you repeat the question?
incentivizing people to
Incentivizing who? Welfare recipients to work?
those people that we say may be unwilling to work?
Oh, welfare reform is what you're talking about. Okay, how do we basically incentivize people who are able to work to make them work? We used to have a system in this country where we were generous and compassionate. We'd be willing to help people who have a fall back in their luck.
Of course.
Now we have a system where people have entitlement. Whether it's before the Obama administration, last year of George W. Bush's administration, there were 8 million people in this country on food stamps. It's a lot of people, 8 million. The very last year of Obama's administration, the number came to 44 million people in this country on food stamps. Do you think that we had that much more hunger, that much more distress? No, what we did was we said, oh, let's just give more of this stuff away. And that's not the way America was built. America was built on the notion that you work hard and then you have an opportunity to enjoy things that in other countries no one could even dream of. And that's why people want to come here. We need to get back to the message of welfare reform because there are people out there who are working and falling farther behind, and then yet you're seeing others get the handouts. We also need to have this notion of pride in this country. And I think kids want pride. These millennials are very interesting. They think they're going to be able to change the world, and I want to help them change the world. I want them to be changing the world back to a freedom-oriented, market-based opportunity society away from socialism. But the one thing that they talk about is, I'm proud. I can do anything. You're absolutely right. But you know what? The Democrat philosophy is they don't want you to have individual personality. They don't want you to have an individual piece of pride. Because why should I take pride when I get exactly the same thing that everyone else does? Socialism. No matter how hard I work or how little I work, no matter how ingenious my app is or my invention is, doesn't matter. I should have no more pride than the person over there who is mouthing off and goofing off. These kids can be won over on the notion of changing the world and having pride in changing the world.
Let's try this one more time.
Go ahead, sir. Just call it out. We don't need a microphone. Go ahead. I'll repeat.
What kind of cooperation and help are you getting from young conservative organizations like the College Republicans, Young Americans Foundation, Leadership Institute?
We're working with a number of people in that group. Unfortunately, the College Republicans are in the middle of a civil war. I don't know how many of you know that, right? They're in the middle of a civil war. There's 2 different College Republican groups. Our Republican Women Federated are in the middle of a civil war too. And you know, I have to say to both groups, knock it off. Get to work. Knock it off. We don't have time for ego. Let's just all work together. And if that means you do it separately, fine. But the reason why we're fighting amongst our chapters is that there's no overall plan for people to focus on. Back in 2018, when we did the gas tax repeal, and in 2017, the College Republicans were still fighting. 2 different factions, but they all came together to collect signatures to recall Josh Newman. And I forced them to do it on the same weekend. I said, we're going to have a contest. We're going to do this crowd and that crowd, who can get the most signatures. And those kids walked door to door and they worked their tails off. The idea is that when you do not have a party that has a plan of action to take on the other side, what they do is they start eating their own. And so we need to start looking at these organizations and overcoming the civil war and the personalities there by providing that vision and that plan. But we are right now in the middle of putting together a program. We're going to start it district by district. There will be a special election, likely this year, in the 50th Congressional District. which has Riverside and San Diego. Duncan Hunter's been indicted for embezzling $250,000 of campaign funds. It's really bad. I am so disappointed in him. But Democrats are salivating. They are like, ooh, we're going to pick up another congressional seat in California. It's the most Republican seat. We're going to get it. They got this guy, Amar Campa-Najjar, running, grandson of a Palestinian terrorist. Yeah, how does that go over? Socialist. The bigger issue is that he's a socialist. And what I want to do is I want to get all of our colleges activated for that race, because my message is, oh, you think you're getting this seat? Not so fast. What we want to do is show such an outstanding grassroots movement in that seat that it sends a message, we're turning the corner. And now we're going to use that model for other seats. But Turning Point USA, College Republicans, Leadership Institute, Young Americas for Freedom, all these organizations we need to stitch together district by district, school by school. Yeah, go ahead.
You talk about developing a common plan. This is part of the problem with the Republican Party is there's no one that can come up with a common plan that from Chad Mays to conservative people here are going to agree upon. No one can impose.
How do we come up with a common plan when you have so many different people in the Republican Party kind of drawn in different directions? We came awfully close to that in 2018 with the gas tax. And I think, again, but for the fact that the title was changed at the last minute by the Attorney General, we would have won the initiative. But don't for a moment neglect to appreciate and have pride in what was done. We took an issue that they were arrogant on, that they never thought there would be any consequence on. And we said, all right, you went too far. We're fighting for the working family, the little guy. We're going to start out, warm up the engine with a recall of one of your state senators. Boom, we came in and we did it. And we won that seat 60-40. Because guess what? They couldn't change the title on the ballot. It simply said, should Senator Josh Newman be recalled from office, yes or no? And we made it abundantly clear in the campaign, we're recalling this guy because he was the deciding vote on the gas tax and the car tax. And people were like, what? Oh gosh, he's got to go. We showed we could do it. And we got no help on that recall, by the way, from the California Republican Party. No help. They were too afraid. Oh, wait a minute. What if they take us off our committees? Oh, please. A committee that you're on a losing vote of a 9-2 vote? No one will notice if you don't show up. Don't worry about it. Just stand up to the bully and knock him in the nose. And when we did this, then we said we were going to do the statewide ballot measure on gas tax. And they said, oh, no. We just did this to recall the guy. We're not serious about the gas tax repeal. I'm like, I don't know what memo you're reading from, but I'm serious. And I think our grassroots are serious, and we're going to do it. No help, no money. But we were able to get that thing qualified. And then when it came time for the campaign, no help. How many of the candidates ran on gas tax repeal? Handful. You know who they were? I'll tell you who they were. Number one, Kimberlin Brown. She did not win in Palm Springs, but did you see her number in 2018? 2018 was an awful election in California. All of the seats dropped by 10 points. We lost a bunch of seats. Kimberlin Brown got 5 percentage points better and got no money from the NRCC. They gave $1 million to the prior two candidates out there, and yet she ran exclusively on gas tax. She got 5% better. Oh, Tyler Deep. You know who Tyler Deep is? Vietnamese Republican. He ran in a seat that Democrats said, oh, this is definitely going to be our seat. He ran on gas tax repeal, singularly. He won his seat by 10 points. You know what? In a seat right next door, Matt Harper, who is a worthless member of the assembly, you know what I'm talking about. The guy couldn't raise more than $5. He lost his seat by 10 points. He didn't do anything on gas tax. He was afraid of angering the construction unions. All right, dude, fine. Don't use the most powerful issue that we got this cycle. So what is frustrating is that, yes, we have a lot of Republicans that are not on board, but some of them are gone. Some of them have been picked off. And what we need to do is to the others is say, this is the plan, get on board, and sometimes it takes, a little bit of arm twisting. But one thing that these politicians are really good at, if we create a parade, they know how to do one thing. Quickly run to the front of it after it's halfway down the street. And so what we just have to do is not worry about them, not worry about Chad Mays or some of the other rhinos. We just got to come up with a plan and start moving out of the station and make it happen. Yes, sir.
So we're in a boxing match, so we have 2 boxes, right? We only have 1 box. We have a huge audience. We all clap, but we don't have a fighter. In the Inland Empire, Michael Rose turns up. Then we have a Republican guy. I have no idea. We have no name recognition of people running anymore.
Hold on a second. Did anyone know who Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was before she ran? How about Katie Hill up in LA? How about Katie Porter? I mean, she's one of those ones that you don't even want to put on TV because, if you Google her. You look at this, it's like, don't give me this notion, we can't win because we don't. You get the right candidate with passion and hard work, we can win these seats. I'm sick and tired of some of the retreads that the Republican Party says, they have name ID and they've been in office. Well, what have they done? I'm sorry, but I'd rather have a fighter who is passionate and willing to work hard and write on the issues, because you know what? I think independent voters in California will go with an honest, genuine candidate, even if they don't agree with him all the time, over some lousy, phony, plastic Republican rhino. And that's the problem that we're having, is that we keep getting served up, it's his turn. Really? I'm sorry, but we're in a democracy. Anyone can file. And if we have not learned anything from AOC, and let me confess, there's not a whole lot to learn. There is one thing you can learn from AOC, and that is you can take on the establishment. She did that in her party. I'll give her credit for that. She may be on a diet where she loses weight because she only eats food that she can spell. It works real well for her. But at least on that front, she was not afraid to take on the system. She worked hard, she was passionate, and she went out there and said, I'll take on and be clear about my positions. I think we need more of that on the Republican side.
But strong people, strong boxers, we're working. We have full-time jobs. Okay, AOC was a bartender.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He just got cut off.
Let her run for office.
Actually, I think that would be brilliant. Actually, I would. Let me just say, so I try recruiting candidates. I sit down with them. And a lot of the candidates that I talk about are candidates who I've seen just get out there and they're just working hard as a grassroots activist. I say, you should run. Who, me? Yeah, you. You think you're going to get a certificate saying it's your time to run? This is how leadership evolves. We have to support some of these candidates as well. If not you, who? Because the old retreads, I'm not so sure that those retreads are such a great choice. Last question, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. One, my kids still call me up every now and then to check on political stuff. And I appreciate that because I didn't want them to go off and become liberal. So every now and then when you're stuck, they still check up with you and stuff. So I appreciate it. And I am so thankful that everywhere they go. But at least they're willing to listen to the other side.
Right. The millennials are there for the taking. It's not going to be easy, but simply writing off an entire generation, and that's what the Republican Party has done. We'll never win them over. You haven't even tried. You've given the Democrats a complete free hand in this area.
And I think for the most part, as I spoke to them, and sure there's a difference between 18 to 25 or 30, and then 30 to whatever when you start dating stuff.
All right, there's a question in there somewhere. All right.
That's not the question. The question is, part of it going out and saying the Republicans are not getting enough. And then my third one is, why the hell don't we have a workshop for people to come together for these ideas to brainstorm and come up with a Southern agenda?
We do.
Okay, so there's a lot of ways to do it. First and foremost, hold on, sir, we'll get to you in a minute. First and foremost, every single county should be having a center-right coalition meeting of business groups, grassroots groups, policy institutes, the college Republicans, anyone who basically says we need to come up with a better set of ideas than what the majority party has. We are restarting that in San Diego. And in LA, they've actually started it. So center-right coalition meetings. Grover Norquist in Washington does one, and we need to go back to that model of getting everyone together, looking at the issues, and coming up with a positive, proactive agenda. On the issue of the kids feeling like they're marginalized and being afraid, this is an opportunity. The Democrats love to use terms that excite the millennial voters. They use terms like resist, indivisible, fight, take back. They call themselves the resistance, the rebellion. I'm sorry, hold on. How can you be the resistance or the rebellion when you control the governorship, you control a supermajority in the Senate, a supermajority in the Assembly, you control the media, you control academia, you control all the levers of funding in every single group? You're not the resistance, you're the man. You're the establishment. You're the power baron. You're what's wrong. So if you really want to be part of the rebellion, you want to be part of the resistance, join the Republicans. Join Team Freedom. And what I want to do is I want to make this effort on college campuses, I want to make it naughty. I want to make it clandestine. I want these kids to know that if they join, that they actually are courageous. What they're doing is bold. What they're doing is audacious. And that they're shaking up the power structure. See, let the Democrats take that brand of we're shaking up the power structure. No, you are the power barons. And we need to get out there on those college campuses and explain that. These kids are there for the taking. They are actually closet conservative. They just don't know it yet. When they talk about socialism, what they mean is treat people with respect. Yeah, treat people with respect. Like, don't go and bully Christians. Don't go up to a bunch of kids on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and start calling them names and using terrible slurs. That's not respectful. If you want to be socially tolerant, there's no more protected class that's needed right now than being a Republican, being male, being straight, and being Christian. That's a protected class in today's America, unfortunately. I think, ultimately, Republicans ought to own that and just simply say, don't want to get religious on you, because I know in this day and age you're not allowed to talk about religion. That's terrible. But I believe in the golden rule. The golden rule. Ever heard about it? Do unto others as you'd like them to do unto you. Treat others the way you would expect you'd want them to treat you. And in the Republican Party, we abide by the golden rule. We believe that it doesn't matter who you are, the beautiful thing about this country and why everyone is banging at the door to get in is because at one time we were the greatest nation because we offered anyone an opportunity to have a small business, to raise a family, to be free, not worry about government coming in and attacking you and hurting you. Today, people are coming and lining up at the southern border because they hear that we give out free stuff. That's not the America that made us strong. We are a nation of immigrants. We're proud of that. And it's part of the golden rule, which is we'll take anyone in as long as they want to work hard, as long as they believe in freedom and opportunity, and as long as they abide by the rules. And I don't think there's any millennial that will ever, I don't there's any millennial that will ever say that that's anything but exciting to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carl.